Joining me back here on the Rich Eisen Show. He was kind enough to join me in person in studio, but right now we're just Zooming. We're just two guys on a Zoom.
That's right.
This guy can be seen right now on Disney Plus in the beautiful, wonderful film called The One and Only Ivan, based on a wonderful children's book. There's just a lot of wonderful when it comes to Danny DeVito. How are you, Danny?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm better for watching your movie. My kids and
Oh
we
yeah.
watched it over the weekend, and it was just delightful. Just
Oh,
beautiful.
thanks. Yeah, I'm really proud of it. It's a wonderful film. The story's really heartwarming and great and touching. And the Catherine Applegate book was the inspiration for it. And I've been working on it for long. Animated stuff takes very long to do,
Right.
and so I've been with it for a long time. And Thea Sharrock, who's the director, did a great job. And Disney's always very supportive, and they know the stuff. They know how to do it. And so I had a good time, really good time.
So how long? Like, when was this? Is like a year or two in the making?
Oh, it's been a
Something.
couple of years because I was actually doing Dumbo in London when
That's right.
I worked with Thea in a play, The Sunshine Boys, years ago, about 7 or 8 years ago, and you know, I found out they were doing this, and then it was a couple of years now, and it's very complex because there's three parts to the movie. Basically, is the Bryan Cranston playing the guy who has the dog
Right.
roadside attraction, and then there's a motion capture gorilla that is like amazing, that plays Ivan, but Sam Rockwell does the voice, so that they had to do all that separate. And then there's the animation part, which is where I play his best friend Bob, the dog, and so that's and I was very interested in the process of the hybrid kind of shooting. So I visited a lot, and I also and it took, but basically Mike White wrote the script, and all the time, just improvising and trying new things and trying to fit it all together with what the director wanted. And so it's been an incredible fun journey.
Well, I've got three kids. They're 12, 9, and almost 7.
Oh,
So,
it's perfect.
and the older ones have gotten to the age, Danny, where if I make a suggestion, they must now reject it out of hand, right?
Of
Like,
course.
so I have to kind of like, kind of sell them a little bit. I'm like, we're gonna watch The One and Only Ivan, and they
Yes.
said, "Who's in it?" And look, I definitely did this. I'm like the cranky grandpa from Jumanji, the latest Jumanji
Yeah,
movie is in it.
exactly.
I like honest, I could have gone many other parts of your filmography or television history, but the
Yeah,
minute they heard that, they were
yeah,
like in, and they recognized your voice, and
yeah,
they loved it. So,
yeah. It's good.
you know,
It's really good. I've done like several movies. I actually I got my subscription to Disney Plus, and
yeah.
to and I also just started surfing like a kid again. I actually went back and looked at Hercules, which is another Disney movie I
Sure.
did years ago, where I played
Right. Oh, I should have used
Silicati,
that.
his trainer.
That's right.
And it was I got hooked on it again. So it's like really cool that. But the great thing is, we tried to make Ivan for the big screen. It was made for the big screen, and then all of a sudden we got whammied with the pandemic and all this. But I really feel it plays very well and really great. And I think that a lot more people seeing it this one weekend than probably would have in the first weekend of the regular release. But it's really good.
There's two aspects of Disney Plus that we as a family during the quarantine had to watch the first night out. It was your film, The One and Only Ivan, Danny, and Hamilton. When
Yeah,
Hamilton came on, it was like we're sitting down, and
yeah.
we don't care. We're going to be one of millions of people watching it. So
Right.
you're in select company, to say the
It's
least.
really nice. You can always turn on something out, put a big smile on your face on Disney.
Well, during this, Danny DeVito here on the Rich Eisen Show. Again, you can watch The One and Only Ivan right now on Disney Plus, and then when theaters near you begin to open again, maybe you can catch it there. So what during the pandemic have you just flipped on and then, oh my God, it's something that you were in, you hadn't seen in a while, that you caught up and just didn't expect to see on your screen if you were flipping around at any point in time?
Well, I kind of, I do flip around, but mostly I dictate to myself what I'm gonna, where I'm going with my watching, my binging. And
Okay.
I've watched The Sopranos 3 times over the years. I've watched The Wire now a couple. This is my second go around with The Wire. I like I love all those kinds of, I've been watching a lot of stuff on Hulu because of FX, all their
Oh,
kind of
sure.
stuff.
For
They're
Sunny.
now on, yeah, for Sunny. So, but once in a while, you catch a taxi and you go, oh my goodness, you let's look at this for a little bit and see what you were doing. Like, how many years ago? 1978. Don't even, like, it's like, so long ago. But it's kind of cool. I think that's the one thing about, I've caught up a lot on some movies. I watched the Criterion Collection, and
Huh.
and I do a lot of like hunting around. Once in a while bump into Twins because it's on all the time.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
that
love it. So let me hit on a couple of those with you if you don't mind. Taxi, when you first received the script, you thought what when you first?
well, it was a great, great part. And originally, I don't people don't know it was written originally for a voice only. Wasn't going to be Louis wasn't going to be on camera, and then they decided that they do it. And when I came into their lives, I loved it so much when I read it. I just thought, this is a part that I have to play. I was not a kind of a snob about television, even though in the '70s a lot of people were saying, don't do television. It's like, I just thought, I it's a part, I'm an actor, and it was a great part, and so I went, and it was the luckiest thing. Really, that's the thing that happens in your career if it happens, because every actor's out there struggling, looking for work, and you could do a lot of work and not have that one part click for you, and that happens to it's like a kismet kind of, like this perfect um, spot to be in when lightning strikes, and that was Taxi. That really was the best. Brought me out from into the people's homes every
Sure.
night.
What a
That's
great character. I mean, that you could absolutely chew up and spit out and have a good
yeah,
time with. And
it's
were
very
you
well written. Jim Brooks and Ed Weinberger, Stan Daniels, Dave, all that team, Dave Davis, those guys were from MTM, Mary Tyler Moore. A
oh,
lot of
sure.
people remember that.
Oh,
They did
good.
a lot of shows over there, and they were just top-notch writers. Never let you down.
And originally, so again, I guess to use a Mary Tyler Moore production phrase, I guess Carlton, your doorman, one of the more famous
Yeah,
voices in the
that was
history
the
of that was
voice.
essentially what
Yeah,
your character
that's
was
the
going to
way they were
be.
going in the very beginning, and then they switched up and said this guy in this really crazy pit bull kind of in a cage.
Right.
So there I was. It was like one of those moments that in come along, or once, if you're lucky, once in a lifetime. That was a great time.
Were you channeling anyone in particular?
I was doing everybody, man. I was like, trying to be, I don't know, Gleason, Peter Falk, uh, everybody, anybody I could think of who had color in their bones, and um, I did meet a couple people in New York. I met the one guy who was based, like, there was an article that was in one of the magazines. That's where they found this story about all the cab drivers who did something else,
Right.
except for one guy who was a cab driver. That was the Judd character. Everybody else, like Tony, wanted to be a boxer. Mary Lou was into art. Bobby Wheeler wanted to be an actor. Right down the line. And and but I did get to meet this one guy in a who was a dispatcher, who was really a pistol. This guy on 57th Street in Manhattan, and so I got to hang out in the garage a little bit with them, So a lot of things, the way actors collect things and they rub off on you, and you
Well, I
still
want to.
best.
So I want to, just while I'm going down memory lane with you here, Danny. I
Yeah.
mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Have you caught that anytime
Oh
lately?
yeah. Every once in a while, I'll snag onto that and I'll look at it, watch it, and see. That was we shot that I think in 1974, and I'd done just some off Broadway work and a couple of little small parts and things, but that was also a great gift, being able to do Martini. And every once in a while, I look at it and just say, where did that guy go? In there somewhere. Martini's still in there somewhere, but it's like, yeah, caked in the crust of Danny.
What was Nicholson like on that set?
Great, great. It was really it was a pleasure to work with him. We're from the same neighborhood in New Jersey, like nearby. Like say, like I'm from Asbury, he's from Neptune. It's very close to down the shore. It's very close knit thing. I used to always hear about this guy. My sisters were older than I was, and they had a friend who's the baby brother or whatever went to California. He was a really good looking guy. He went. It was Jack. It was Jack, and I used to hear about him all the time being a guy who was in California going to be. He hadn't been a movie star yet, and then all of a sudden, boom! He bursts out on the screen, and he's like, there he is. And then I saw a lot of his films, and then was cast in Cuckoo's Nest. And I remember the first day we were in Salem, Oregon, at a real institution. It's like, and we were working on Milos had everybody in the day room, and we had 10 days of rehearsal before we started shooting. And during that time, I never told him. And one day, I guess Michael told him that I was from Asbury. And he came around the corner like with a big, big smile on his face. He was like, Daddy, why did you tell me from Asbury? And that was it. We started talking about all the people that we knew in common, like all the crazies from the Jersey Shore, all the wonderful people that we grew up with, and it was like really a cool thing because we got to know each other. He only knew me as and I was always in character. Martini was like really a pain in the neck. I was always like, insinuating myself to something, getting in on some, moving into other people's space, and that way, it was kind of fun.
It's funny. I mean, of all the obviously Jersey people you hear about all the time,
Yeah.
obviously, in our entertainment world, and
Yes, a lot of
you don't
Jersey.
you don't normally hear Nicholson as a Jersey guy. I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
he
well,
sat
he's
for the
really
Lakers
Jersey.
courtside all those years. Maybe he just
Yeah, he's really very, very Jersey, and I didn't know him back then in town, but rumor has it that he was always into basketball and always into like sports and always like and um, um, and so, but since of course since we met in the 70s,
Mhm.
we anytime we get a chance we talk about Jersey. That's the thing. We talk about down the shore. That's like that was the golden place to be. I mean, if you were in the East Coast, the Jersey Shore was like Asbury and Belmar and Neptune and Manasquan and all those places down there, Long Branch. That was like that was the creme de la creme, of New
Sure.
Jersey.
So now obviously it makes sense you're a Bruce guy, right? That
Oh
makes
yeah, I'm
right?
a lovely, a big fan. I've seen tons of his concerts. I'm a big fan of his music, and I went to see his play a couple times. I mean, on Broadway, it's actually him playing. It was
Right.
actually wonderful, great, great. All my kids are all, they're all indoctrinated from early on. I had already left Asbury by the time he started settling in at the Stone Pony. So I was in New York pushing the Sisyphus acting rock, and he was you know forming the E Street Band with little Stevie and all of the guys, and but I soon as I saw that burst onto the scene, That was like it. It's a weird thing because it's like any hometown thing, I guess, with anybody. But down there, the network of lights that go off when my family found out I was working with him in it was just like things lit up. When I'm sure when Bruce started hitting home runs out. He was always hit. I never saw him in the Stone Pony, but I've always heard, and I've seen like documentaries and whatever, and so big fan.
Well, I guess mentioning Little Stevie brings us full circle to your
Oh,
Sopranos binging.
oh my God! I just like totally still watching, little Stevie on.
He's great. He's
He's
great.
great. Yeah, I've also seen him in this. What the hell's the name of that show he did about where they did the Olympics? It was in Hallahammer. Where they do the
And
Olympics?
Lillehammer, something like
Hallahammer.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done a show that is very funny where he takes the character of that he
Okay.
basically
There you go.
does on Sopranos and goes in a witness protection program. You should check it out.
I'll definitely.
You get a kick out of it. It's
I
pretty.
definitely will. I definitely will. I get a kick out of our conversations, Danny, and I could go on and on and on and on with you. So, um, you've been on twice. We've hardly even touched on most of your career. I would love to do this again. In the meantime,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, a beautiful movie. My kids absolutely adored it. We've been talking about it every day since then, and every family should definitely check it out on Disney Plus. The One and Only Ivan with Bryan Cranston, Angelina Jolie, Sam Rockwell, and you, just to name four.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
Thanks for the
Thank
call,
you
Danny.
very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Oh,
Okay,
big time, big time.
nice speaking with you.
Right back at you. That's Danny DeVito right here on the Rich Eisen Show.